Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 3. So excited that you are here. And this week is all about embracing diverse perspectives. I have a fabulous guest with us today who is going to be representing our artistic leadership perspective. And I'm going to allow him to introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. I'm Diego Barbosa-Vásquez, opera, orchestra, and ballet conductor from Colombia. I am the General Director of the Ostrom Opera Camp Laboratory, Music Director of the Americas Chamber Orchestra. I am Doctor in Music from Jacobs School of Music. My major in opera, orchestra, and ballet conducting, minors in arts administration and music theory, Ostrom Research Awardee in political economy. I also hold a master's degree in opera and orchestra conducting, one bachelor in orchestra, choir, and opera conducting, and another bachelor in viola. And I also played professionally as a violist. And I'm very happy to share with all of you today.
Excellent. Thank you, Diego. So of all the different types of ensembles you've worked with, what draws you to work for an orchestral organization?
Well, I love every single performing artistic enterprise. Specifically, orchestra has the advantage of we have more time to focus on the color element and specifically crafting how we work together to bridge these colors. We have the same in opera, we have the same in ballet, trying to develop that, but because of the complexities of the opera and the ballet, sometimes, sadly, because of time, we focus just on getting things together and just started to do the color part. What really we can do in the orchestra, when the orchestra is well prepared, obviously, and it has a good level, is that we can start focusing how we build all of these amazing colors and how the orchestra becomes just one. And if you close your eyes, you see just in your mind, you see only one single entity. And that's amazing for me. And I really love conducting orchestras because of that.
So can you talk a little bit more about what's the best part of working for an orchestral organization? There's lots of things orchestral organizations do. What's kind of the best part for you?
Well, I guess myself, I love complexities. And that's why I'm doing so many things around, because I really want to not only understand the complexity, but also how you can affect and move the complexity around in order to go to a single goal, for instance. And that's precisely what I found in the orchestras. I did my first bachelor thesis about rehearsal techniques using motivation theories and complexity theories to understand how you do that. When you are in an orchestra rehearsal, you see multiple perspectives about the piece, and that's important. Actually, the worst case of rehearsal is when there is only one perspective, the conductor. That is really bad, because at the end, no matter how you do, it's a very weak result. It's way much more amazing when there is multiple perspectives, because that means people is interested in doing the thing. And yes, of course, it could be potentially fractional. Everyone could have a different perspective. But when we understand all of the perspective and we listen to each other and we start collaborating, that is what becomes really amazing. And this kind of process where every single rehearsal you start helping each other to communicate, listen to each other, understand each other, that's amazing for me. And this kind of complexities, how you do that from the first rehearsal up to the concert and seeing an amazing concert where all of us become together, that's really, really amazing for me.
Mm-hmm. So what have been some of the biggest challenges or limitations, restrictions of working at an orchestra?
Yeah, I guess because of complexity, there are so many. I wrote a thesis, I done my doctoral dissertation, all of that. But if we want to summarize, probably I can say there are 3 main things of the complexities and the difficulties. And the 3 main things are levels, are not only 3, just different levels. The first one, of course, for a conductor perspective, starts in ourselves, in the podium. The first complexity is really understand the music. Many people say that is understanding the composer and all of that, and put the composer as the head of the full thing. I really believe it's the music. The composer is also part of that. We are also part of that. And our goal is to understand really, really the music in a way that no matter what happens in the concert, we know how to react immediately to solve the problem. This kind of very reflect is something that you gain with a lot of experience, but also knowing really, really in depth the score, because you never know when it's gonna be the part that someone is gonna mess up something and they are gonna need help from you. Therefore, that's one of the complexities. You need to be really solid on your knowledge of the score of the music. The second, of course, the second level in that thing is the orchestra. That is when you start interacting with the musicians. As we talked before, we are talking about a potentially fractional system. Many people who have different opinions, many people have different days, different moods, that's normal, that's part of the thing. But now, as conductors, we need to learn how to influence on that in order people return to the path that we all decided to go. Therefore, the second kind of complexity is around, how we are going to collaborate as a whole to become just one entity, and how our opinions are going to collaborate with each other and really pull the puzzle together. And not only to show one opinion, but actually show all of the opinions in a coherent way. That is the real important thing. That's really complex. But there is also one that is much more complex. That is the third one, that is our relation with the audience in the whole, but also with the community as a whole. And when we say as a whole, that includes also the staff, that also includes the board, that also includes the community. All of these relationships that we have to do outside the music is also a complex part. This could be even a more potentially fractional system, because now sometimes we also don't share the music language, for instance. Therefore, you have to learn how to speak so many languages. That's why I study arts administration, I study political economy, or I study business, because sometimes you are sitting at a table talking with a person that don't understand if it's a forte or it's a piano or what is a dominant. You are talking about how you are going to balance the budget, how is the projections of the next stock, whatever, or you are talking with a physician, or you are talking with an economist, or could be so many things, but at the same time, we are all together for the music. Therefore, we are sharing something and we have to start learning how to talk with all these people, because at the end, we want a huge environment for the music for all of us. Therefore, this is the way that I see the difficulties in the orchestra enterprise, but at the same, for me, are exciting, because if we are able to actually collaborate with all of them, understanding every single one, what they need, what they want, what they can put into the table for the enterprise, we are going to do an amazing orchestra experience.
So given all that complexity, when you think about all the people that, and relationships that you would have as an artistic leader inside that organization, which ones are most supportive to you? Which ones do you personally are really important to you within that organization?
Yeah, I guess right now I believe that every single relation is hugely important, and I'm going to explain why. When I started to study music, I started as a violist, right? My first interaction with the orchestra was as a violist. And of course, when I was a violist, you start relating with your peers. Therefore, the first one was my single section. I was very soon the principal viola, therefore my section was a thing. But as soon as I was principal viola, I started to connect with my other principals. But then when I was the conductor, I started to see it's not only the principals, it's also the orchestra. But then when I was music director, I was talking about the same complexities that is not only about music, it's also about how you talk with your audiences, with your board, with your donors, with all of that. And when you see this kind of growing, Now, with the economic political theory, I can say is every single stakeholder is hugely important for the enterprise. Every single relation is important for the enterprise. We cannot do a concert if we don't have audience. We cannot do the concert if we don't have donors. We cannot do the concert if we don't have musicians. We cannot do the concert, of course, without staff. We cannot do it without publicity. We cannot do it without the restaurants, with the parking, with the metro, with every single element that is hugely important for the enterprise. Therefore, the relationships are hugely important. Of course, depending on your situation of the orchestra, you are going to have different kind of relationships. When I was viola, I didn't have the necessity to interact with the donors because at this time, my necessity was with my section. When I was principal, it changed. Now, as a music director, because I am one of the heads of the organization, I have to be involved with more things. Therefore, but at the end, if you analyze from an even academic perspective, is every single relation is important. And also something that I started to find out is every single one, as soon as they feel really part of the conversation, it immediately changed the response about how we are doing our collaborations. Because sometimes something that I'm trying to change in my organization is only a few people can reach the music director. Those kind of things are only creating barriers because create this kind of different levels of people that I really don't believe on. Actually, every single one can do it. It's just, of course, a matter of time. I don't have time to meet every single person, but this is something that I really believe every single relation is important.
So if you're able to navigate all these complexities and all these relationships are as strong as you wish them to be, what impact do you believe is possible for you as artistic leadership to kind of have on the work of an orchestra? What's kind of your dream impact that you would have?
Yeah, something that I am very, very lucky is that I was able to be music director very young in my career. And obviously because I co-founded a choir at the age of 16. And that allowed me to see that the way to do performing artistic enterprises can be done in a very shared way, in a very common resource way. Of course, when we enter in a field that has so many years of traditions, then you are starting to see things that people say is the way to do it. But as a person that did it in a different way with success, I know that is not the unique way. What we are seeing right now, and I can say that now with authority because of the research, is that sadly, the way that our field is right now is a club in which just few people have the possibility to access into the enterprise. That explains our little percentage of people that comes to the orchestrated enterprise. That explains why we have very lower financial incentives in our field, because yes, it's very, very little compared to other industries. And my goal is that we have proof that the orchestra enterprise can become a cultural common. What is a cultural common? It's a shared resource in which every single stakeholder is part of that, meaning the conductor, meaning the CEO, as same as the musician. I'm saying as the person that never listens to the orchestra because the repertoire is not for them, or the place is not for them, or whatever. We can create a better way to interact with the full society when we put where we frame the orchestra enterprise as a cultural common, because that allows us to understand, first of all of the complexities. Second, understand all of the people that is part of this. And third, understand that that is a collaboration. We cannot do it alone. We have every single one of them as stakeholders to do it in a sustainable way. Because if we keep the club, It's gonna last as long as the donors that are there are gonna continue, but it is decreasing and decreasing and decreasing. That is gonna kill itself. Therefore, if we put the cultural common framing, understanding that that is for every single one, and we all have responsibilities, that is also very important. It's not only I have saying on that and I get the benefits, I also have responsibilities to secure its sustainability. That's the thing that I believe is gonna allow our field to succeed and continue in the long run and to be sustainable. And that's the goal that I am doing. Many of that has to be done in the artistic side. There is so many traditions, in quotes, that at the end, what is the word tradition? Tradition is just a system. It's just doing things within a system. And sometimes I say this like dogma thing, that you don't change things because you don't understand it. You are not the artistic one that has the wisdom to do that. Well, if you actually analyze what the reasons for those decisions are made, are done because of our systems. Therefore, then is the idea, okay, which kind of systems we want to keep, because we as a community, we believe are important, but not as a dogma. Is we understand it, we want to keep it, or we don't want it, we want to erase it and move on. Those kind of things are only possible when we all, the stakeholders, collaborate. And in that sense, one more thing that is really important is, in order to collaborate, we have to be transparent and we have to be open within the field. That's something I always trying to do as an artist and as a conductor. Sometimes people don't talk to each other. They hide information. And that is done from the artistic side, from the administrative side, from all of that. If we don't communicate, it's impossible to know our needs that are gonna be probably different. We are different people, that's okay. But if we don't communicate it, that's the problem. And music is totally the opposite. Music is communication. If we don't communicate, we are not doing music. Therefore, part of doing music is communicate openly and transparently. And all of these kind of mini missions goes around the same thing. Put the orchestra enterprise as a cultural common, a shared result where we all can be part of, and we all have responsibilities to sustain it.
Diego, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate your perspective, and I think our students are going to enjoy watching this and hearing all the other perspectives. So thank you so much.